India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has a hectic week ahead. He will have 40 hours for 23 engagements. All the high-stake meetings will be held across Japan. The Indian Prime Minister will be attending the Quad Summit on Tuesday, that is on the 24th of May, and separate bilateral meetings are also scheduled with the group leaders. That is US President Joe Biden, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, and the incoming Australian Prime Minister-elect Anthony Albanese.
On Monday morning, arrangements are in place to have these people sworn in as members of my team. To enable Penny and I to attend the important Quad Leaders meeting in Tokyo with President Biden, Prime Minister Kishida and Prime Minister Modi.
India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra held a press conference. He gave details about the aim of this crucial visit. During the Quad Summit, leaders will review the progress of Quad initiatives. They will identify new areas of cooperation. Japanese Prime Minister's India visit in March saw substantial outcomes. Indian Prime Minister will interact with the Indian diaspora. There will be a special session on the sidelines of the World Health Organization's Assembly.
Apart from participating in the Quad Summit, Prime Minister would also hold bilateral meetings with the President of the US, Prime Minister of Japan, and with Prime Minister of Australia. The Prime Minister would also engage with the Japanese business community and the Indian diaspora during his stay in Tokyo. Let me first begin with the Quad Leaders Summit. As you all know, Quad cooperation is anchored in the shared values and commitment to the principles of democracy, international law, and rules-based international order, as also the vision for a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific. Since its first summit, Quad has been working to implement a positive and constructive agenda with a strong focus on enabling peace, prosperity and stability in the Indo-Pacific region.
Similar to the agenda for most foreign meetings taking place around the world, the Russia-Ukraine war is likely to dominate the talks. The bloc did meet on 2nd of March this year, just 6 days after Russia chose to invade Ukraine. But the war was at a very premature stage at that point. Months later, countries have shaped their stance and policies around it. The Quad grouping is expected to showcase a united front against Russia's brutalities, but this puts India in a tricky situation because, unlike India, the other three countries have sided with Ukraine. They have penalized Russia with sanctions and burned all bridges with the country. However, India has chosen a different path. It has chosen dialogue over criticism. So it will be interesting to see if the four countries will manage to come on the same page. Apart from this global issue, there is a regional crisis that is bothering the group, and that is China. The country is rapidly becoming more hostile across the Indo-Pacific. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been seen as a wake-up call for Taiwan, which China claims as its own territory. The United States, along with its allies in Asia, have stood against China's encroachment efforts. So a plan for Taiwan's military emergency is also on the cards. And for more on this most important, crucial meeting, we are being joined by Professor James D.J. Brown, who is an international affairs expert from Tokyo. Professor, good to see you and welcome to WION.
Thank you very much.
Apart from strengthening the grouping at the Tokyo summit next Tuesday, what can the countries of the Quad do to deal with the challenges in the Indo-Pacific? Many critics argue they must seek alternatives with a focus on trusted global supply chains. Professor, what's your view on that?
So I think to take a step back for a moment, when the Quad first came into existence, there was a lot of thought that it was very vague, it didn't have any real substance to it. But I think what we've seen over recent years, and will be reaffirmed at this latest meeting in Tokyo, is adding real kind of substance, practical initiatives to this entity. So that means working together more closely on supply chains, on setting standards for the digital economy, for working together on infrastructure, but also things such as the suggestion that there will be an agreement on tracking of illegal fishing, setting standards there, which is seen as pushing back against China's activities in the region.
We've heard what US is doing, we've also heard what Australia is doing, we've also heard what India is doing, but what primary role can Japan play in this?
I think one of the priorities of the Japanese side this time round is to push in the economic area. There's a feeling that the big missing piece, especially when it comes to the United States, is a commitment in terms of economic cooperation within the region. Now, the United States is seeking to address this through the launch of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, which is going to be announced tomorrow. But what Japan hopes is that they can push Japan to go, what Japan hopes is they can push the US to go even further. And that's seen as crucial because if the Quad wants countries, particularly in Southeast Asia, to deepen cooperation with them rather than with China, then the crucial thing will be the economy. And so I think that Japan ideally would like the United States to rejoin the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, they recognize that that's a very distant prospect, but if that's not going to happen, well, at least they want the United States to go as far as possible in committing to investment within this region.
Professor, finally, what will it take for the Quad grouping to deal with the what is now called the Dragon Bear, that is the partnership between Russia and China?
Yes, I mean, that's the big issue which is hanging over this. I don't think they'll address it publicly during this meeting. And the reason for this is because there have been clear disagreements within the Quad over Russia policy. And here, of course, I'm talking about that India taking rather a different stance to some of the other partners. So I don't think they'll want to really address this head on, at least publicly, because that would reveal tensions within the Quad. So instead, I think the goal of the Japanese hosts for the Quad meeting is instead to focus on China, to focus on the Indo-Pacific, and to show that all four members are truly united in that area. And in fact, I think whilst Russia will clearly be a presence lurking in the background, I don't think they're going to address that so directly this week.
Live from Tokyo, international affairs expert Professor James D.J. Brown, thank you very much for making time and for talking to WION today. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.